As you may have gathered from my videos, by the way, I'm in this shed because it's absolutely pouring down outside, so I'm just trying to keep dry. Apologies if there's any echoes. As you may have gathered, I'm not a huge fan of electric vehicles, and mainly because they're marketed the wrong way. They're marketed like they're completely eco-friendly, whereas they're not. There's a lot of processes that go into producing an electric vehicle. Batteries are dug up often in exotic places and then transported back and forth. All of these vehicles that dig up the batteries and transport them run on diesel or oil in some way. They're also made with lots of plastics and rubber. Plastics and rubber don't exist without oil, just like a petrol vehicle. I'm not saying a petrol vehicle is eco-friendly either, but the way they push electric vehicles, they're completely green, whereas, yeah, I don't think they are. The other main element, though, that I don't like about electric vehicles is the engine, to me, is the soul of a car. It's a character, and it doesn't matter if it's a good engine or a bad engine, it just provides that personality. Whereas when you remove that, it's kind of gone. Electric motors, they're pretty much universal across all makes and models. They usually offer instant power, but there's no noise, some of them I guess are a bit more responsive, some of them have those fake sounds coming in the cabin and so on, but in general, they're pretty much universal. Now this behind me, I kind of approve of actually. It's the new Volkswagen ID.Buzz. It is fully electric, but it still retains lots of character, and I think losing that characteristic of a petrol or diesel engine, it's made up for in other areas. Think of it as like a modern combi van. I love the two-tone paint, although I'm not a fan of the bright red we've got here, but you can choose from other colors that give it that really vibrant 70s look. Very cool design themes going on, pretty much from any angle as well. And you've got staggered width tires, front and rear, 265s on the back, 235s on the front. So straight away when you look at this, it's got some personality. This is the top spec GTX variant, 250 kilowatts overall, which is a decent amount of power, but this does weigh just under 2.9 tons, so it's very heavy. Even so, Volkswagen claims 0 to 100 in 6.4 seconds, which is quite quick, especially for a people mover. It's about the same as a Golf GTI from not that long ago, even last year or something like that. I think the official time was 6.3. And then inside, it's got that character as well. Look at the size of the dashboard for starters. It's got that huge horizontal length, big quarter windows so you can easily see around. There's hardly any blind spot at all. And then you've got that very upright glass house theme going on. This has even got an adjustable panoramic sunroof so you can make it clear or opaque. And down on the dash, you do have a kind of stuck-on touchscreen. I'm not a huge fan of these style of touchscreens just because they look like a bit of an afterthought, but you still have some dashboard design going on. It's not just a fixture where the touchscreen can sit. The latest Volkswagen interface is pretty good. I do like the way it's got physical controls for the temperature, so you can always adjust that straight away without really looking at it. You've got like a bit of a swipey thing for the volume, that's okay as well. But everything else is within the touchscreen. So if you want to go into the driver assist, that's just there, which is not too bad actually. It's better than diving into multiple menus and so on like some vehicles. You just hit that at the top, it's pretty much always there. And your drive mode as well. You've even got a sport mode. And then down below you can open and close the doors. And then in the back we do have a sliding middle row, but it doesn't run the full length of the floor like in some people movers, but still plenty of adjustment. Accessing the third row is easy. That seat tilts right up so you can just step straight in. You do have two individual, almost buckety seats in the back there as well. It's a bit annoying that the security blind, if you've got the third row up, there's nowhere really to put it. Not that I can find anyway. And then up at the back here, heaps of room. Look, my knees are nowhere near that second row, and you've got adjustment there as well. So you could actually push that forward more if you wanted to. You've got little USB ports, cup holders, storage, bottle holders, everything that you need for a big family road trip. And right up the back, power tailgate of course, and you've got this little shelf system with pull-out drawers beneath. That's not the biggest boot I've seen for a MPV or people mover with the third row up. It'd be good if you had the rails that go all the way along the floor so you could fully adjust the second and third row. But even so, that's pretty good. You've got some options here to fiddle around with this shelf as well. And of course you can fold down the third row for even more space. All right, let's take this for a spin. I'm keen to see how it handles. Volkswagen products are usually pretty good in terms of handling, but it is heavy, as I said. 250 kilowatts as well. Doesn't seem like quite enough, but Volkswagen's claiming 6.4 seconds. I think that's definitely fast enough for a vehicle like this. In terms of charging, the ID.Buzz maxes out at 200 kilowatts for DC power, which is not bad. Some EVs will max out at 350 kilowatts, and there are 350 kilowatt chargers available in Australia, although they're pretty rare. This one is a 150 kilowatt charger, and it's maxing out at 142 at the moment, which is not bad. It's quite close. Now, it's going to take a little bit to charge it up. It's a 91 kilowatt hour battery in the GTX, providing a WLTP range of 450 kilometers, which is not too bad, but in the real world, if you loaded this thing up, which is kind of what it's designed to do, then I reckon you'd get about 400 or even less kilometers per charge. Interesting thing about charging an EV, at least at this station, you've got these little shelters that only just provide enough coverage for the actual plug, but plugging it in and stuffing around with the app, you've got to stand in the rain basically. If I had a petrol or diesel motor, I'd be standing over there under that massive shelter and wouldn't get wet. Also, I find it a bit frustrating that you've got to use an app to use these services, whereas you don't have to when you're filling with diesel or petrol. So download the app, put in your email address, all your details, put in your credit card as well, just to pay for some charge. Why can't they just have a machine where you just pay wave how many kilowatt hours you want, or even better, just put in cash? Why does it need all of our details? All right, so what's this thing like to drive? Well, you don't initially feel that almost 2.9 ton weight. It hides it quite well. It feels very sturdy and together, as per typical of Volkswagen products really. The suspension is sporty, but not overly firm. It's doing well to catch these bumps on this very poor condition road. And obviously with the electric motor, you've got instant response, which you can use to your advantage. If you're coming around a corner or something like that and it's kind of leaning or just, you know, thinking about pushing wide, you can just get on the power just a little bit and the brains behind the all-wheel drive system will sort it out and pull the front in line, sending you off in the right direction. But yeah, there seems to be a little bit of wheel travel, not heaps compared with an SUV. I can kind of feel it sort of bucking and seesawing a little bit, but this does have a relatively long wheelbase, so that's going to work in its favour. Down through these tight S-bends, a lot of pressure on the outside front wheel, but it's gripping up nicely. Those staggered width tyres are a feature that you'd usually get on a pretty high-end sports car. This is a Volkswagen, it's a German product, and it obviously has to, you know, withstand the Autobahn and so on. They usually make cars quite dynamically capable over there because they kind of have to. So yeah, having staggered width tyres is very rare for an MPV or people mover. Yeah, punching out of the corner there very nicely. I'm still in the comfort mode. We'll switch it over to the sport mode and just see how that feels. I mean, electric motors offer excellent response anyway. Oh yeah, so it's pretty much immediate. Like, you obviously can't see that or hear that on camera, but it's just picking up instantly. Whereas in the eco mode especially, I tried that out on the highway before, it just very relaxed throttle response. So you push your pedal quite a bit and it just moves gradually. The comfort mode is pretty good though. It's not too relaxed. If you want it to go, just give it a little bit more throttle and it'll pick up. In terms of handling though, yeah, it's actually not bad and it feels more fun than you'd expect from this type of vehicle. All that weight low down means there's, you know, lower center of gravity, which helps with handling and handling feel. So it doesn't feel like it's out of its comfort zone basically. Like, it's not top heavy, tilting into the corners. It's actually poking in quite nicely. But yeah, you can kind of feel that weight when you push it really hard, especially over bumps around corners. Excellent traction management system though. Like, I'm feeding it quite a fair bit of power. It's very slippery through this section in particular because you've got a lot of, this always remains wet kind of thing because it's always in the shade. And when it is actually wet, it's very, very slippery. But that's full power coming out of there and not a slight bit of hesitation. Look at that, that's full power around that corner. So you obviously can't experience or understand what's going on there, but that was quite a lot of G-force just slinging around that corner. And that was with full power. I just wanted to do that just to see how the brains of the system would actually work. So I'll do it again, coming around here. That's full power, all the way around, all the way around. Stability light didn't even flash or anything. It just gripped up and worked out where to send the power to propel this van up the road. The steering is okay. I've got a bit of communication coming through. It's kind of typical Volkswagen, very formal, with just, you know, only the important stuff is sent through. It doesn't have that nice sporty feel as some rivals, but we're talking about an MPV here. That's full power. Yep, it just catapults me out of the corner. Very impressive, especially for a people mover like this. All right, let's head out now and do the performance test and see what it goes like. It is going to be wet, unfortunately, so if there's any wheel spin straight off the line, then we know it's going to be slightly quicker in the dry. There's not much I can do about that, sorry. Yeah, so this is not a super efficient EV. I charged it all last night before coming up to the bush strip here, and it went up to 398 kilometers range, 98% battery, and just getting here, which is about 30 kilometers, it's dropped all the way down to 285. That's with the aircon completely off, and I'm in eco mode as well, which is fine because this is quick. Well, we'll see in a minute. But it's like having a V8 sports car, thirsty V8 sports car with a really small fuel tank. They need to fit a bigger battery because, you know, if I've done 30 kilometers from 400 kilometer range on that, at that rate, you know, it'll be about 200 kilometers range in the real world. If I put the aircon on, fill it up with some people, I can't imagine this getting much more than sort of 250 maybe, according to the range calculator anyway. Sometimes these calculators are a bit sort of, yeah, pessimistic, not optimistic, to give you a kind of real world range, like you will actually get 285 or even more potentially. But yeah, that doesn't look good to start with. 80% left. Usually by the time I've charged at home to 100%, although I only charged this to 98, it's dropped down to about 90 by the time I arrive here, whereas that's dropped all the way down to 80, and it's got, you know, it's averaging 26 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is not very good. I've seen plenty of EVs in and around the 17 down to sort of 13 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometer range. By the way, I'm going to have to stick the camera to the steering wheel here because there's not enough space to stick it in front. So if you see it sort of move a little bit as we're doing the acceleration runs, that's why. Really good brakes actually for the wet.